Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Mara, and this video is going to be about just updating you guys on how the first semester of nursing went for me. But before I get started, I'm going to bring a little notice to my hair. So these are crochet fox locks. So it's the Prereqs brand, and my best friend did them. She also has a video on YouTube on how to do them, so I will put that in the link below. I'll put that link in below, and yeah, so you guys will check that out. I also post like her Instagram and stuff, so like if you're in the DMV area, if you want to get them done, she's available to do them. Let's get started on this video. I do have a previous video on like my whole nursing series, I guess you could say. It was the like the prereqs, the requirements, and I talked about my grades that I got like in those classes. So now I'm just going to talk to you guys about pretty much just how my first semester went. I don't know if this is just like my school thing or if this is like nursing school like worldwide. Like if you guys, like if everyone does like J1, J2, S1, S2, which is like junior semester 1, junior semester 2, senior semester 1, senior semester 2, because nursing is 4 semesters. So first, I'm going to be looking at my phone just because I pulled up like my Blackboard, which has like all my classes and my grades and stuff on there. Okay, so the classes I took were, it's called Health Assessment Across the Lifespan, which is pretty much just, it has to do with, okay, so it's like a lab and a lecture, and it was like a health assessment pretty much. Like if you go to your doctors, they ask you these questions, like the interview question, and then they do like a physical like examination on like your body and stuff like that. So that's pretty much what that was, and it was across the lifespan because it had to do with like infants, adolescents, early adulthood, late adulthood, and it had to do with like every system of your body. So that's what that class is about. And then I took foundations, which is just like the foundational nursing class that you have to take, and there was a clinical requirement that went with that. So I did 7 weeks at a hospital. I was in like a post-op ortho type thing, and I took pathopharmacology. The last class I took was professional nursing, like an intro. So those were all my classes. So I had 4 like lecture classes and a clinical, and then one of my lecture classes had like a lab with it, which was the health assessment across the lifespan class. Let's just talk about the overall first semester. So it was a lot, I think. Yeah, I don't know, but if you guys watch my previous video, you guys will see that I did cross a sorority this semester, so I had a lot on my plate this semester, so it was a little overwhelming. And nursing school is a lot on its own, before adding anything else to it. So it was stressful. It was stressful. So overall experience, it's not impossible. It's definitely not impossible, but it's a lot of work. It's not really a lot of work as in you have assignments due, because it's really not that many assignments. It's just back-to-back tests, and it's like once it hits you, it hits you. And like I had my first test the 2nd or 3rd week, I'm not really sure, into the semester, and it was in my hardest class, which is pathopharmacology, which was a 5-credit lecture course, I should add. But yeah, so it's like once that test hit, it was like the next week I have a test, and then say I have that test on Thursday, I had a test on Monday, and it was just like back-to-back tests. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm always studying for a test, and it's like, it wasn't really that many assignments. I did have like a few assignments here and there, and like quizzes, but like they were like online quizzes and stuff like that, but it was mostly studying for tests. And I don't know if I said this in my previous video, but the way nursing classes work, it's like you have to maintain a certain average in your test. You have to maintain a certain test average. So in my school, you have to have a 72% test average before they add any quizzes, any assignments, anything in. And that's where they get you, because you can literally have a 71 test average and you know you got 100 on all them quizzes, but them quizzes don't matter because you ain't reached that 72% test average, so you fail the class. Like, so that's how it works. So you have to reach a 72% test average in your class in order to pass at all, before they, you know, buffer it up with your quizzes and your assignments and stuff like that. And nursing school is really like its own entity. Like, it's not your typical major, as you all probably already know. But what else about it? Oh, tests. Like, you know how, so I mentioned that, you know, tests were back to back to back. But it's like comparing tests to the tests you took before you started the nursing program, it's totally different. It's not the same. It's like you have to study for these tests a totally different way, and you have to really understand in order to pass the test. It's not like, oh, I know what the definition of this is. That doesn't matter. Do you understand what that means is what matters. Can you apply that to a situation? If someone says blah 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 presented at the hospital with symptoms of blah blah blah, can you really like take that information and apply that, like take the information that you learned and apply that to the question and answer it? And nursing tests also have select all that apply questions, and those freaking suck. Like, those suck. I'm gonna have to just go into like the individual classes, and that's why I'm looking on my phone. So I'm gonna start with professional nursing intro. That class was like, you know, you always have that one class that's just like, okay, that's my easy A. That's the one I don't have to worry about so much. That's what that class was. So in that class, I got a A-, and that class was the class I studied for other classes in. But it had assignments. We didn't have tests in that class. We had like quizzes that counted as like, you know, our tests, but they were online quizzes, and we had assignments. It was like a writing class kind of. So we had like homework assignments. I want to say we had 3 homework assignments, and then we had a final paper, and we had a group project. So those weren't too bad. It was like 3 to 4 pages, 1 to 2. Like, it, as the homework assignments got, you know, as time went on, the pages got longer. I think the most we had to write was like a 4 to 5 or 3 to 4 or something like that. And yeah, that was it. And I hate writing though, so that's why I didn't really struggle in the class, but it was annoying. It's like, oh, I have to write this assignment, because I hate writing so much. Next was health assessment across the lifespan, and I kind of already explained what that one was. It's like what you do like for a health assessment, you know, like the physical, like your checkup and stuff like that. And in that class, I got a B-, and the crazy thing is, when I started off the semester, that was my worst class. The first test, I got like a 74, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm at a 74 test average, and I can't go below a 72. Like, it was just like, oh my gosh. And then next test, I think I got like a 76. I kept staying in that C range. It was just like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. So I got a C on every test except for my final. On my final, I got like a 86. So that like really helped my grade. So I was above the 72%. So then in that class, I did have a few assignments. I had like, in my lab, I had like to do like a whole head to toe assessment on like a patient. Like, I had to bring my own patient. And then we had like a write-up thing we had to do with it. And in the beginning, we had like the health interview questions. Like, so we had assignments in that. So on top of my test average, which was okay, and then when those grades went in, it brought me up to. Next was foundations, which is like, they always say like, well, when I was taking it, if you struggled in pathopharmacology, you probably struggled in foundations too, which was kind of true in my case. Like, my first test, what did I get on my first test? Hold on. Alright, so on my first test, I got an 86, and I was like, okay, that's good. I mean, I thought I did better, but it was like, okay, that's cool. But then my grades start going down to 70 on the second test. And then pretty sure I took that test like while I was online. So like while I was online, my grades started, you know, slipping a little bit because I was just so overwhelmed with so much that I had going on. So my grades did start to slip around that time. And then literally on my next test, I got a 60%. That test was the day after my probate. When I say tired, oh my gosh, y'all, I was so tired. I was falling asleep taking that test because my probate was at 7 p.m. and I don't remember when it ended. I came back after my probate to my room. I don't remember what time it was, and I was like, I plan on studying. I'm gonna study, blah blah blah. I took a shower, was knocked in my robe, y'all. I was knocked out in my robe. Took that test the next morning, 8 a.m. Yeah, that whole weekend I was busy. Like, I really didn't have time to study for that. So I got a 60, and that brought me down to like a 70%, I believe. And I was like, you know, how am I gonna get to this 72? So, and then we had to take like the HESI. I took my final after I took the first HESI. And at that point, I think I was still at like a 70-ish. Yeah, around that somewhere. And I got a 78 on my final, which I thought I should have did way better, but you know how that goes. And I was at a 72.8. I was like, oh shit, I'm at a 72.8. I can't go below a 72. And I have one more test. And we had to take a second HESI. So I'm like, I need above a 72 on this HESI, or my grade is going to go below a 72 and I'm going to fail the class. So I took that HESI. And like the way the HESI works is like you get your grade when you're done taking it. Like on the computer it tells you like what you got wrong, what you got right. I finished taking that HESI. I had a 71%. Y'all, I wanted to cry. But then I went home. I went online and I figured out, you know, like the little grade calculators, blah, blah, blah. So I put all my grades in with the percentage that they were, and that 71 didn't bring me down below a 72. It brought me to a 72.6, and that's all I needed. And then she put the quizzes in, and I had an 83% average for quizzes. So I ended up with a 73% in the class. So here comes the last class, pathopharmacology. It just sounds stressful, right? Like whenever I tell somebody the name of that, they just be like, no, just stop right there. I don't even want to hear no more. But yeah, pathopharmacology. It's the study of drugs that affect like different diseases and stuff like that. Drugs are stressful. Like, what? Drugs are stressful. So I'm just gonna go through the, my test grades for that class. Yeah, this class was the death of me, literally. So exam 1, which was like this was the first test I ever took as a nursing student ever. I got a 78. It wasn't terrible, especially for pathopharmacology. Like I have a friend that was in the J2 semester. So, I was telling her my grades. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is bad. She's like, actually, I know it's sad to say, but a 78 is actually good for that class. I'm like, okay, you made me feel better, but oh my gosh, 78, like no. So then exam 2, I got a 82.61, and then it goes left, way left, so far left. Alright, so exam 3. Mind you, this is while I was online, and I don't know, this class, whew, I got a 55.39. I remember studying for this. It didn't go well. I used as much time as I could to study for it, and it just didn't go as planned. And I'm like, I wish I would have studied for it more, because it was like a whole 10 questions on something that I didn't get to study. But I had to study it later for a different test in a different class. And it was so easy. I'm like, I could have got a whole 10 questions right had I learned how to do that. But yeah, so that was that. And that brought me down. In exam 4, I got a 66.15. This was the week after I got like offline. And yeah. Then exam 5. I studied my ASS off for this test. This was the final. Exam 5 was the final. When I say I studied so much for it, like, I had a whole study guide for the nervous system that was like 17 pages, I think. How did I get a 67.69? I don't know. That test was hard. And mind you, it wasn't just the nervous system. That was just one part of it. It was so much. It was just like so much information to learn. And I really was learning it all. And I really don't understand how I did so bad on it. So that brought me down to a 69% test average. And that is a failure. So, yeah. I failed the class. So I had to retake that. So technically, I am not moving on to the next semester. I will be taking like 2 classes out of the J2, but I can't take the clinical courses because you have to pass all the previous classes before you can take the clinical courses. So I'm behind an entire semester for 1 class. And it is what it is. I know I'll do so much better now that I have like the time to really like focus on it. Like, it wasn't the worst thing in the world, but because I was so overwhelmed with like so much going on, it was hard for me to find the time to study for it. But I will definitely do so much better next semester, and I will definitely keep you guys updated on how my redo pathopharmacology so I'll be like J1/J2, I guess. So I will definitely keep you guys updated on how everything is going, and I'll definitely get you guys more nursing videos. I'll catch you guys in the next one.